Okay guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to prove that if the greatest common divisor of A and B and A is Q1 times D and B equals to Q2 times D for some integers Q1 and Q2, then Q1 and Q2, the greatest common divisor of Q1 and Q2 is 1. Now let's prove it. So we need to start with letting A and B be integers such that A is not 0 and B is not 0. Okay? And assume that we will assume that the greatest common divisor of A and B is D. Okay? The greatest common divisor is D, and when D is the greatest common divisor, that means that D divides A and D divides B. Okay, so I gotta tell this, I gotta give this one, so we gotta have A equal to Q1D and B equal to Q2D for some integers Q1 and Q2. And we want to show that these two integers has the greatest common divisor as 1. So now if you have the greatest common divisor, let's say of 125, it turns out to be 25, right? And 100 is 4 times 25. 4 is a quotient and 25 is 1 times 25. 25 is the greatest common divisor, and the quotient of these two numbers have the greatest common divisor of 1. Another one is, suppose that we have 27 and 60. What is the greatest common divisor? The greatest common divisor is 3, right? So we're gonna have 27, which is 9 times 3, and 60 equals 20 times 3. Okay, as you can see, the quotient of these two numbers has the greatest common divisor of just 1. So to prove that the quotients from the greatest common divisor of A and B has the greatest common divisor of 1, we are going to use the proof by contradiction. So we have to suppose that, let's suppose that the greatest common divisor of the quotients Q1 and Q2 is not 1. Okay, so that means that we gotta have the greatest common divisor of Q1 and Q2, which is K, for some positive integer K. Okay, so I gotta say where K is an integer and K is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, so once K becomes the greatest common divisor of Q1 and Q2, where K is greater than or equal to 2, that means that K divides Q1 and K divides Q2. Okay, so we gotta have we gotta have integers Q1, L1 and L2 such that Q1 is L1 times K and Q2 is L2 times K. Okay, now let's go back to here. What do we have right here? So let's try to write Q. Okay, Q1 and Q2. So try to write Q1 as a subject for this equation and Q2 as a subject for this equation. So we gotta have this. So since Q1 is A over D, okay, and Q2 is B over D, okay. So what do we have? What happened to this equation and this equation respectively? So we gotta have A over D equal to L1K and B over D equals L2K. Okay. So from this one right here, let's have A and B. Then what do we have? We gotta have A equals A1K times D. And B is L2KD. Okay? Then we're gonna have L1KD and B equals to L2KD. Okay? Now, from this equation, what happened? So since L1 and L2, these are integers, and we have A equal to L1 KD and B is L2 KD. Okay, then what do we have? We gotta have KD divides A and K times D divides B. Well, what do we have next? That means that we have A and B. So we have, okay, how do I say it? So we have a new divisor, right? So K and D are divisor of A and B right now. Now, what happens next? What is K? K is an integer. Okay, so since K is an integer and is greater than or equal to 2, so what do we have? We gotta have KD greater than or equal to 2D. What is D? 2D is greater than D, right? Because D is the greatest common divisor of A and B. So D must be a positive integer. Okay? But 2D. But KD is greater than D. Okay? And we say that D is the greatest common divisor of A and B. So from this one, what do we have? This is a contradiction, right? This is a contradiction. Why? Because D is the greatest common divisor of A and B. And we have KD, which is greater than D. And KD is a common divisor of A and B. So from this right here, KD is a common divisor of A and B. Okay, so this is a contradiction. So that means that what we suppose right here is wrong. Therefore, the greatest common divisor of the quotients is going to be 1. Okay, So we have shown that when D is the greatest common divisor of A and B, and the quotient from A and B from dividing from when divided by D or Q1 and Q2, and the quotient, this quotient must have the greatest common divisor of 1. That's it for this video.